Jai Baba. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our celebration of Eruch Jessawala. We're all happy to be here in Baba's presence and in memory with Eruch. I'm going to let Karen start with a bio, and then I have a little video of some photos and music, and then we can share our memories of Eruch. There's also a piece that Misha did that's pretty, it's about 15 minutes long, but it's really beautiful. And if we have a chance, we'll play it. So no further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Karen Talbot for a bio. Thank you, Karen. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone. Eruch Biram Shah Jessawala, a most fortunate slave. He chose the path of freedom when coming to Baba, his early life. Eruch was born on October 13th, 1916 in Bombay, India, to Zoroastrian parents, Biram, known as Papa Jessawala, and Gaimai Jessawala. Eruch had two sisters, Mera and Manu, and a brother, Merwan. The family lived in Nagpur, India. Their extensive home and properties were named Meherabad. The first time Eruch remembered meeting Baba was in 1925 when he was 9 years old and on a trip with his family to Ahmednagar. He had lots of family on his mother's side at Akbar Press, and that's where they were off to, coming from. Eruch's mother's family lived at Akbar Press. Her brother told her they had met someone who reminded them of Zoroaster. As they rode along, Baba was behind them. Eruch fell from the back of the horse carriage they were traveling in and seriously hurt his elbow. Baba picked him up and lovingly comforted him. Baba had Eruch sit on his lap. He comforted Eruch, put Duni ash on his elbow, and wrapped a handkerchief around it. Eruch was amazed that a total stranger could express such love and concern. From 1925 to 1930, Baba would visit their family home, Mary Lodge, in Nagpur. Baba would play games with Eruch, but Eruch wanted to be with his teammates playing school games. Baba understood this. So he started having Eruch read his alphabet board as a game. Eruch was a natural. He enjoyed this game immensely. In later years, Eruch became Baba's chief interpreter. In August of 1930, at Nagpur, Baba told Gaimai, Eruch is my son. I will give you another. Gaimai agreed instantly. Papa Jessawala said, how can I give you Eruch? He is our only son. At that time, Gaimai was already pregnant, and then she gave birth to their son, Merwan. In 1936, Eruch was 20 years old and studying in college in Benares. Meher Baba asked him, what do you want to become? Eruch replied he wanted to study engineering. Baba asked Eruch, would you be my engineer instead? In May of 1938, Baba sent a telegram to Eruch saying to come immediately to him at Panchgani. It was extremely hot, 120 degrees. And Eruch, who actually, they had a spectacular garden at Mary Lodge, and helicopters or planes would fly overhead to see the garden. So Eruch continued working in the garden to protect the many plants from the heat. Within an hour, another telegram arrived saying the same thing, but it was sent from a different railway station. Gaimai implored him to go immediately, and he did. Eruch left so rapidly, he left the keys in the glove compartment at the train station. He asked the guard to watch the car, but Papa Jessawala was not pleased when he returned from his travels to find the car with the keys sitting in the lot. When Eruch arrived after a brief conversation, Baba suddenly said, if I were to ask you to leave everything behind and come and stay with me, is it possible for you to do that? And Eruch said, by your grace, everything is possible. Baba then asked Eruch to come on August the 1st, 1938. Then Baba said, is it possible for all the family to leave everything and come and follow me? Again, Eruch replied, by your grace, everything is possible. That's good, Baba said. Tell them to come also. And when you come, bring a trunk, sleeping bag for each, and bring the car. Only those things. When Eruch returned to tell his parents, his mother was overjoyed. His father, who had created extensive property and assets for the family, shrugged his shoulders and replied, all this I have done for you all, that you may have happiness. But if you find greater happiness at his feet, then I am all the more happy. Then his father said he was too busy to wind up the estate, so he asked Eruch to be responsible, and he would sign the papers. It was May 23rd, 1938, so Eruch had a very short time to wind up the estate and all the other matters. Later, Baba sent a message. Tell your father that his retirement is due in 6 months, so he should not retire prematurely. And as an aside, they had everything priced, and Merwan and his cousin Dottie Carawala, they would change the prices. So Eruch had to figure that out. On August 1st, 1938, the whole family came to Baba. Papa Jessawala came for 1 week before he retired from his position. Eruch assisted Baba with the Mad Ashram, which had recently been brought from Rahuri. And Eruch said this training was a precursor to his life with Baba. Then they went on the blue bus tours. Eruch drove the blue bus after Elizabeth Patterson's new car arrived. In Eruch's book, That's How It Was, Eruch shares intimate times with Baba. Eruch said, although I spend so much time with Baba, I almost never had the opportunity to simply stare at him. When Eruch went to help Baba, Baba gestured, no, you sit. So Eruch sat there near Baba's chair, simply gazing at Baba. Not a word was said. They sat in silence, simply staring at each other. Eruch found cool tears streaking down his cheeks. Nothing was ever said, but that remains one of Eruch's treasured memories of his time with Baba. And here's the next remembrance, which many of you would have heard about. Before the beginning of the new life, Baba wanted a period of relaxation. Eruch suggested a place on the coast called Vengurla. Baba sent the women to the beach. Baba and Eruch went to contact a must. Instead of walking 3 miles to the distant town, Baba asked Eruch to cross the inlet waters in one of the dugout canoes the fisher boys used. The boat capsized. Eruch caught hold of Baba and they safely reached the shore. Eruch had to leave Baba alone to get him fresh clothes. After contacting the must, Baba said, as you gave me your helping hand today to help me out of these murky waters, a day will come when I will lend you my hand and pull you out of the muck of illusion. The New Life. In 1949, Eruch was one of the New Life companions with Baba, who was with Baba throughout the entire New Life. He was one of the 4 men. Eruch would be walking with Baba when the women would be behind and the men Mandali even further behind. Whenever they traveled, Eruch was with Baba as his interpreter and companion. The other 3 New Life companions till they're at Imampur and till the end when they returned to Meherazad were Baidul, Pendu, and Gustachi. along with Eruch. In 1952, Eruch was so exhausted from the new life, he asked not to be included in the visit to the Meher Center. Instead, Baba sent Eruch and Pendu to Hamirpur and Andhra State to tell villagers about him. That turned out to be an exhausting trip. Eruch was unsure of what to say because he'd never talked about Baba before. Baba told Eruch to stand up, remember me, and speak. Also in the 50s, Eruch worked on God Speaks. He wrote the 9th chapter of that book, working from a chart by Baba under Baba's direct supervision, and he also wrote the book's conclusion. Eruch's stories of his life with Baba were also published during his lifetime. On the night of July 16th, 1956, with Baba, Adi K. Irani, Dr. Nilu, and Meherji, they left Bombay to travel to the US for 1 month. They visited Switzerland, England, and then the US, and finished their trip by visiting Sydney, Australia. Eruch and the 3 other men stayed in Baba's house at the Baba Center in Myrtle Beach. Eruch had not been to the center in 1952, so Baba took Eruch to the edge of the bluff by Baba's house to show him the wonderful view. When they visited Australia, they were able to visit Meher House in Sydney that Francis had built and to meet the Australian Baba group members. On December 2nd, 1956, Eruch was driving the car in Uttara on their way to Satara. Those in the car were Baba, Dr. Nilu, Pendu, Vishnu, and of course, the driver, Eruch. At 5:15 p.m., the steering wheel suddenly and inexplicably went completely out of control. The car swerved, crashing against a stone culvert, and it landed eventually in a foot-deep ditch on the other side of it. All the men in the car were injured. Baba was seriously hurt. Vishnu was injured, but able to check on the others. Eruch, Pendu, and Dr. Nilu were thrown out of the car. Dr. Nilu died as a result of the accident. Bao and Alaba took Eruch and Pendu to Pune, to the civil hospital by ambulance. Eruch felt partially responsible for Baba's physical suffering since he was the driver. Baba said, "Don't be sad. One day I will definitely walk. It has nothing to do with you. The accident had to happen and it should happen." In 1958, May, there was another visit to the West. This time with Baba were Eruch, Adi K. Irani, Naraman Dadachanji, and Dr. Duncan. And they traveled once again to the Meher Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. They left the Meher Center on the evening of June 7th, 1958, for Australia, where they visited Avatar's abode, which had been recently founded by Francis Brabazon and developed and worked on up to the last minute by the Australian Baba group, just in time for Baba's 1958 visit. Eruch was intimately involved with all of Baba's activities as his closest companion. Summers were spent in 57, then 59, and through the 60s, I guess till 68. At Guru Prasad in Pune. Many times Eruch would spend his days at Guru Prasad and then return in the evenings to Bindra House where his family lived. In November 1962, Eruch was involved in preparation for the East-West gathering, and he worked diligently throughout the entire East-West gathering, which was held from November 1st to 4th, 1962. He was similarly involved with the 1965 Eastern Sahavas held with Eastern Baba followers. Eruch tried to dissuade Baba from sending the circular about the great darshan because Baba's health was so poor. Baba replied, "I will give darshan. I want them to come. Send it." That was the 1969 darshan. Until January 31st, 1969, Eruch continued to be Baba's interpreter and closest companion. On January 31st, 1969, when Baba was losing consciousness, Eruch immediately began administering mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Eruch asked Dr. Briesman to administer oxygen to Baba, which Dr. Briesman did. Dr. Goher gave Baba an intracardiac injection. In the ensuing days, Eruch spent 7 days at Meherabad, welcoming those who came to offer their respects to Baba. Eruch recalled that Baba had instructed the Mandali several times, "Whenever I may drop my body, bring it to Meherabad and place it in the tomb." He also remembered that Meher Baba told him to play the record of the song "Begin the Begin" 7 times, which he did. Eruch told Mani to get her movie camera and take a film. Just before the lid was brought inside and placed over Meher Baba, Eruch went down into the crypt and placed a very fine scarf given by Mera over Baba's face. Eruch survived Baba by 32 years. He continued to live at Meherazad and worked for the Avatar Meher Baba Trust at the trust office in Ahmednagar in 2001. He continued to be an inspiration for followers of Meher Baba from the East and West until the end of his life, sharing stories and remembrances of his life with Baba. He also fulfilled his duty to Baba to look after Mera and Mani till they passed. On August 31st, 2001, "O Baba" slipped from his lips. His beloved's name was the last word Eruch spoke aloud. He died on August 31st, 2001. He was buried in the men's cemetery at Lower Meherabad. And this is what the men and Mandali wrote. "Beloved Avatar Meher Baba fulfilled his promise to Eruch Jessawala on 31st August 2001 at 2:31 a.m. when he gave Eruch his hand and pulled him out of the muck of illusion to live eternally in him. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai." And here's what Baba said about Eruch, whom he called his Peter. "If at all I enjoy the company of anyone, it is Eruch. Do you know how very important Eruch is for my work? By remaining by my side, he serves me 24 hours a day, keeps watch by my side, reads my signs and gestures, looks after my smallest chores, and in addition tackles correspondence. Nowadays, I ask Eruch for his free and frank opinion whenever I am in doubt about my dealings with others." And he also said, "He is a gem. Eruch was matchless." And there's several books by and about Eruch, and one coming that Devana's been working on for quite some time. The ones that are already here to read are "Determined to be His," "Is That So?" "That's How It Was," and "Tales of the New Life," which was written by Eruch and co-authored with Mera, Mani, and Ruth. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. How fortunate we were to know him. Jai Baba.
Oh, Jai Baba, Karen. Again, just superb. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Mhm. You took the canvas and painted the picture. Thank you. I'm going to show this video. It's not very long, but it's just a memory of Eruch.
The man of God is drunken without wine. The man of God is full without need. The man of God is rapturous and amazed. The man of God has neither food nor sleep. The man of God is the man of God is the man of God is a king neath beggar's clothes. The man of God is a treasure in a ruin. The man of God is not of wind and earth. The man of God is not of fire and water. The man of God is the man of God is the man of God is a sea without a shore. The man of God rains pearls without clouds. The man of God has 100 moons and skies. The man of God has hundreds of sunshine. The man of God is the man of God is
Beloved Baba, I remain beholden to you for everything that you have done for me. In spite of what I am and how I am, you have always overlooked my weaknesses and forgiven me my trespasses. You've never once chastised me, on the contrary, you have always showered your love upon me and your graces upon me. I have no words to express my gratitude but to utter, oh Baba, oh Baba, oh Baba, I'm grateful to you for everything. I remain grateful to you ever and ever. Oh Baba, I beseech you, implore you, and beg of you. Never, never, ever let me down, Baba, never, ever let me down. Never, ever reject me, but accept me as I am and how I am. Oh Baba, guard me and guide me and help me. Hold my hand and lead me on till the very end. Fill me with your love from top to bottom, from side to side, inside and outside, so that your love pervades and permeates me, engulfs and envelops me, and all that is your love and not I.
First man, we had a stroke. I went to bed.
I remain resigned to your will, and let thy will be done always.
Well, I'm going to ask if anybody has any memories of Erich. I'm just thinking of some myself, but I'm sure there are others that would like to share.
Didn't you say that you have another little video to show of Eruch?
Well, it's like 15 minutes long.
Can you show? Oh, is it long? It means it's too long?
It's beautiful. It's up to you guys. I'll play it now and then we can
Please.
share.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So if you just mute yourselves, that'd be great.
Ruthie, I have something interesting to add here.
All right, dear.
When I met Eruch in 1976, on his birthday, October 13th, we said, "What do you want, Eruch? What do you want?" Mandali Hall. He said, "I want to die." So it kind of killed the party. But anyway, so everyone, and then after that, he had a stroke. And he went to Binter House, and his family took care of him. And he didn't lose any functions because he came back, but we lost Mandali Hall time. But consider everyone that met him after He could have gone then. Anyone that's met him after, 76, he could have been gone.
Interesting, Rosalie.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear. Jai Baba.
Hey, bye-bye.
All right, let's see if I can pull this up. It's kind of
I hear birds outside the window while I sit against the wall in this room of endearment. I listen as your friends recall precious moments that they witnessed of your love that reigns supreme. I lean back and watch the tears stream down the faces listening. Oh, the beauty of this moment is the truth and honesty of the love so freely shared here in beloved's company. In this room of endearment with beloved's company. Now this room is ever present and welcomes all eternally in the heart where we join in our beloved's company. In this room of endearment, there's a clock upon the wall here where eternity resides. In this room of endearment that exists beyond all time. At his feet with love's companions, sharing stories, joy and tears, I lean back and join in laughter, letting go of all my fears. Oh, the beauty of this moment is the truth and honesty of the love so freely shared here in beloved's company. In this room of endearment with beloved's company. Now this room is ever
ever present and welcomes all eternally. In the heart where we join in our beloved's company. In this room of endearment, a modest chair there in the corner, where our Lord sat silently. In this room of endearment, circled by his mandali, and the one who spoke there for him is the same that welcomed me. His kind words, filled with wisdom, still inspire and comfort me. Oh, the beauty of this moment is the truth and honesty of a love so freely shared here in beloved's company. In this room of endearment with beloved's company. Now this room is ever present and welcomes all eternally. In the heart where we join in our beloved's company. In this room of endearment,
That was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank
Yeah, doesn't it just take you right there to Mandalay Hall? That was I liked it very much. Beautiful. Well, I guess I'll share this part. For me anyway. When I went to Meherazad in '85, I had diabetes and I had a glucometer to check my blood sugar, and that worked out. You know, the doctors were happy. I had some way of taking care of myself while I was away. So I had to be careful though, because between the heat and just activity in general, my blood sugars will drop. I take insulin to keep my blood sugars down, but sometimes when I increase my metabolism, I overshoot and my blood sugars become low and I have to eat candy and get my blood sugar back up. See candy. I get to eat candy, and that for me, that's a big deal. Anyway, so I was reticent to go up Seclusion Hill because of this. So I was there for 5 weeks, and somewhere it must have been like maybe the third or fourth week, Eruch came out from Mandalay Hall and said, "Who hasn't been up Seclusion Hill yet?" And I put my hand up. I was the only one. He said, "Well, walk with me." So I got to walk up the hill with him, and we got all the way to the top. And then there was like that little bit more. Well, when we got to the top, my blood sugar dropped out. So I had to sit down, eat candy, and Eruch went ahead to the top. But it was just so sweet walking up all that hill with Eruch. So that was some of my first memory. Of course, you know, sitting in the hall and listening to the stories that he had to share were the biggest part. But then that personal piece was him just taking me kind of under his wing.
So only the two of you went up?
Well, there were other people that went up the hill, but he led and I was with him.
Wow.
So that was kind of cool. So anyway, that's part of my story of Eruch. I have more, but I think I'll open it up because I'm sure everybody has those stories. He's just such an amazing presence. He just absorbed so much of Baba to shine at us, and always did, without hesitation. Ron, do you have something?
Yeah, I have one. I think this was in '79, which was my second time to be sitting in the hall with Eruch and everything else that goes with the pilgrimage to Baba's place. And so this was a situation where Eruch had asked, I think, Devana to read the highest of the high message, which remains one of the great things that Baba offered us to explain what was going on with him, you know, who he was and how we should be thinking of him. Now, it very early on in the message, I think it was like the second or third paragraph. I will read it in a second here. This particular part that came up, and as soon as this was read, Eruch stopped Devana, asked her to stop and repeat that particular part of the message. As he said, that strikes him as one of the greatest things that Baba had ever said. I mean, the most meaningful or powerful or whatever, however he said it. Now, the thing, I was listening to this and I was thinking to myself, I had the same thought. At one point when I read the message, I thought, this is the greatest thing that Baba has said about, you know, the greatness of who he is. And nobody said anything after Eruch made that comment. It was a very brief comment, just to explain how his personal sense of it. Nobody said anything. Now, after the whole thing was read, then there was kind of a break people could go here or there. But the whole time that was being read, I was thinking to myself, I want to tell Eruch that that was something that I thought was Baba's greatest thing that he's, I wanted to let him know that somebody else thought that too. I don't know. As I was thinking about saying that, I felt really awkward and that it would go over like a lead balloon. So I didn't say anything until this break happened. But even then, I was super shy about approaching him to say anything. He was sitting where he usually sits, and I was sitting directly opposite on the other side of the hall. So I wasn't too far from him, but there was a bunch of people there, and I didn't know how I was going to get to him, because I figured somebody was going to be talking to him and connecting with him. But as I was looking, it was sort of like, I felt like Baba said, you really want to do this, so go ahead and do it. And as I felt that Baba said, go ahead and tell him, it was like the parting of the Red Sea or something. It was like everybody got out of the way, and Eruch was sitting there and by himself. So obviously that was for me to I basically crawled over there, on the floor, and I got his attention and I told him, I can't remember exactly the way I said it. It was probably awkward, but nevertheless, he appreciated my effort to tell him that I agreed with that same sense of this. Oh, so now I should read this to you, so you get even a better sense of it. All right. So this comes like the fourth paragraph. And this is, well, maybe I should read the paragraph before too. And so infinite God, age after age, throughout all cycles, wills through his infinite mercy to effect his presence amidst mankind by stooping down to human level in the human form. But his physical presence amidst mankind not being apprehended, he is looked upon as an ordinary man of the world. When he asserts, however, his divinity on earth by proclaiming himself the avatar of the age, he is worshipped by some who accept him as God and glorified by a few who know him as God on earth, but invariably falls to the lot of the rest of humanity to condemn him while he is physically in their midst. Now, this is the paragraph that I was talking about. Thus it is that God as man, proclaiming himself as the avatar, suffers himself to be persecuted and tortured, to be humiliated and condemned by humanity, for whose sake his infinite love has made him stoop so low, in order that humanity, by its very act of condemning God's manifestation in the form of avatar, should, however, indirectly assert the existence of God in his infinite eternal state. So to me, that just is amazing that he would suffer that, and then by people saying, how can you say you're God? That's, you must be crazy, or whatever people might say. They would be asserting that there is a God, and that would uplift humanity in a special way.
That's pretty cool, Ron. Thank you. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that, or I hadn't heard it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Mihal, Jai Baba.
Yeah. Jai Baba. So I was thinking about several things, and yes, Ron, this is very sad, actually. One of the great sufferings of the beloved is to be so abused in order to bring even more people to him and say his name. So it's very sad. So another thing that you were talking about, something that I realized, I mean, these years, of course, not at that time, from the shyness that I felt towards the Mandali, and now you're saying the same thing about Eruch. And I realized with Mera that they had their souls so big. They had such an aura around them, such a huge, shiny aura, very beautiful and loving, that I feel that my shyness, at least, was feeling that huge circle of aura. Like usually us people have, you know, a smaller circle around us of our, you know, of our energy, but these had huge. So it was this feeling that you can't approach close because it's so huge. So I think that my shyness towards Mera was because of this hugeness, and now that you're talking about Eruch, I'm feeling the same about them. But Mera was shy herself, whereas Eruch was very friendly. So he used to approach, so it was easier to approach. But I must, there's some things that brought to my mind. First of all, you know, I always say, I feel the Mandali are still there, each one of them in Baba's Darbar, by his side, listening to us, alive and available for each one of us in our special contact to any one of them or some of them. So, of course, my special contact is to dear Bauji, that Baba probably assigned me to him, whether it's a good assignment or not a good assignment. That is the connection that I had, was with Bauji.
Osnara?
Oops, Kiran, you are not muted. So I want to tell a short story and some tidbits. So when I used to come, of course, then I used to come and say goodbye before I left. So I used to come to the Samadhi, of course, and to say goodbye to Baba, maybe first or last in line before I went back. But sometimes I shared a ride back, so they would come to the Kushal quarters and we would say goodbye to the Mandali there when they were in the offices. So if I would, I didn't register it then, like I didn't register about this circle of aura that they had, well, the same thing in this story. So if I would get to Eruch and I would get a hug for goodbye, then I would go to Bauji office to say goodbye to him. Then he would pretend that he's busy and busy and busy and won't pick up his nose and let me feel that I have to go. Why? Because he wanted me to stay with Eruch's hug, the last. So when I'm telling this, you know, I get shivers because, oh, Baba, because he wanted this benefit to be mine, to be the last hug, would be Eruch's hug. That's how he felt about that. So it's still, wow, 3 shivers going through my back. So this was one thing. Another thing is another story that I really, really like is mentioned in Karen's bio that Eruch was so not concerned about, you know, loving Baba or thinking Baba God or something, just taking care of him. That was his work. He was concentrated on. He wasn't concentrated on anything else. So one day when Baba was with Eruch, he said to him, I think he was privately with him. So he said to him, Eruch, do you love me? So Eruch was thinking, you know, but he is very sincere and he's very candid. And he says, I don't know. I don't know if I love you. So he says, oh, you stupid man. Come give me a kiss. So this is Eruch. He didn't know Baba was God, you know. When he was serving him, he was serving him. He didn't care if he was a gangster, you know. He was serving him and he was taking care of him like, wow. And he didn't care if he was God or not God, even though he would say, you know, he would say I was God. So another story is Eruch telling the story of him being berated by Baba. So he's reading the board. So first of all, he says, I'm reading the board upside down, right? Because Baba is holding the board to him and he's putting this. So Eruch is standing opposite him, looking at the board upside down. That's how he read the board. So, and from a distance, he could do that. So he says, you know, he said, I had to repeat everything that Baba would say. So if Baba said, I am God in human form, then he would say, I am God in human form. Now he had to look at the expression of Baba and see if he was angry while he was saying it, or happy while he was saying it, or excited while it, and he used to have to emulate that too. So here he was saying, you stupid man, and Eruch is saying, you stupid man. How could you think that? He says, how could you think that? Because he had to repeat everything that Baba said. So if Baba said, I'm God in human form, Eruch would say, I'm God in human form, and he probably was. And if he was stupid, he had to say, you're stupid. In the same way. So that is another entertaining look at Eruch. Another thing that was very, very special, from my very first visits, 3 visits in 88 and 89, 1988 and 1989, one time I was sitting in Mandalay Hall, and I was also sitting probably around where you were sitting, because it was opposite Eruch. And it was full of people there between me and Eruch, and the whole hall was full because they were listening to Eruch. Eruch was a wonderful storyteller. Baba used to love Eruch to tell him stories, and Eruch got this gift from his mother, because his mother was the storyteller, and she used to tell the children storytellers of all the saints and things and legends. And he got that same how do you call it, talent. And Baba used to love. So, but Eruch used to love tell us stories. And so he's telling these stories, and suddenly he says to me, aren't you going to the women's terrace? And I immediately sprang up, stood, and he laughed. It made him laugh. And he said, no, you can sit. So then I sat back and I kept on listening to the stories. And then I felt that I really have to get up and go. And he was keeping on telling those stories. So I got up very gently, threaded my way through the people and came to the back door to go to the terrace of the women. And as I go out, Mera is right there at the entrance. She just came right there at the entrance. I was so, like what a coincidence, not a coincidence, but one of these Baba moments. So that is another one. And I had another one, which was, and the last one. So in August 2001, I, as a kindergarten teacher, I couldn't go for long times, and I used to go for short times when the kindergarten was on vacation. So in August is a summer vacation, so I could go. So I went in August 2001, and Eruch was still in Mandalay Hall at that time. It was 2 weeks before he passed, or less, I think, but I wasn't there when he passed away. So when I went, Etzion told me, "Oh, you're going, I have this, someone gave me this video camera. It was still, you know, very new, these things. And it was a rickety one, not such a good one. And I'm not such a good photographer in these things. He said, you know, take it if you can take pictures there, you know, what can we lose? I said, yeah, that's a good idea. So I took this camera, and I was in Mandalay Hall when Eruch was just, my heart was. Eruch was sitting, and you know how he looked at those days. He had these medications, and he put on weight, and he had these thick glasses, and he couldn't hold his head because there was something wrong with his neck. I don't know what was wrong there, but he had to hold his chin up. And he was telling the story at that time, and I was filming the video. He was telling that story of how Baba called him to come to Meherabad. That story that Karen told, you know, that he went and Baba said, will you come? And he said, by your grace, everything is possible. And then he said, will your family come? Do you think your family will come? And he said, by your grace, everything is possible. And then he turns to us, and this also gives me the shivers. Then he turns to us, well, he turns to us and he says, wow, from deep, deep, deep in his heart, he says, if you would have gone to your families and said to them, leave everything and go to Baba, would they come? So at that moment that he was telling the story, he was deeply moved by his family, deeply, deeply, deeply moved, because he was a young person. You know, he wasn't attached to anything. He didn't have any studies yet, no wife, no nothing, you know. So he was carefree like we were before we started going into life. We could just, you know, take and go. But the family, you know, the family had their life there, and the friends there, and their saints there, and Tajuddin Baba, and the house there, and the work and everything. And Eruch was so thankful, was so deeply touched when he said that. And it's so passed to us. Do you think if you have told your mother and father to leave everything and go to the master, to the godly master, would they do that? So 2 weeks before he passed away, he was praising his family gesture and move. Thank you, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Beautiful story.
Thank you, Michal. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, any other hands? Candy.
Yes, of course. I have quite a few, but one that comes to mind was, of course, how I managed to make Eruch mad at me. Ta-da! I had a knack for them. That was so the reason for that, okay, was I had a friend when I lived in Spain. I had a friend who was a follower of Sri Nisargadatta. Now, this Nisargadatta, he's written many books. One of them at the time was called I Am That. So I don't really know what his spiritual status was, but his followers believed that he was a perfect master. I had this friend who was a follower of his, and he had taken photographs of him while in India. And he said, "Can you bring these? I have these photographs. Can you bring them to him?" So secretly, I was happy that, ooh, I have an excuse to go see what this guy is like. So, so I went to India. I was in Bombay. I had my manila envelope of photographs. And I took a taxi to this rickety place, an old building in Bombay, and went in, and there was all these shoes at the bottom of a rickety staircase leading to an attic. So I went up there, and there was this attic, very small, and sitting on a platform raised about 10 inches was this Nisargadatta person. And he was very fiery. He was jalali. He was discoursing. So I had my little envelope there. And I said, "Hello, I'm a follower of Meher Baba, and I've come to deliver some photographs to you." Like really fast. "I'm a follower of Meher Baba, and I've anyway." So he took the photographs and he pointed, "Sit down." So there were people all sitting there, in this attic, listening to him discourse. And it was hot, and oh God, what a place that was. So I went and I sat down, and I didn't understand anything because he was discoursing in Hindi or Marathi. I don't even know, Anyway, I sat there and listened to him. When he was done, everybody was filing out and they were bowing down to him. And I'm thinking, oh shit, what am I going to do now? So anyway, my turn came and I just did namaste, and went out. So I get to Meherabad, and then it was a Meherazad day, and I went, and when I was there, I told Eruch what happened. Eruch, his eyes, he was furious. "How could you do that? Do you know what you put Baba through? He had to watch you every minute you were there." And I'm like, "Oh." "Well," I said, "I had to deliver the photographs." And he said, "You could have mailed them." So that was that. That was that story. Yeah. So there was another story, if you want to hear. I mean, there's quite a few, but one of them was sitting in Mandalay Hall. Eruch asked me to tell my story of how I came to Baba. And I don't know what it was about Mandalay Hall, but, when I start telling my story, I felt, tears welling up within me. The cat's ass. Maybe that's what Baba thinks of my story. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm really holding back the tears. And I get, feeling a little embarrassed because why hold back the tears if you're not embarrassed? So Eruch interrupts me and he says, "Isn't it amazing? We do so many things that displease our Lord. But when we cry for him, we feel embarrassed." Thought that was a good one.
That is a
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. Yeah. Then there was another one, which is funny. Shows Eruch's little humor. I was there with my sister-in-law, Christina, and we always came, we had nice outfits and everything when we came. We always dressed very nicely, and Eruch was leading a bunch of everyone, up to Seclusion Hill. So there was this board with all these hats on it. And Eric said, choose a hat. So Christina and I, we looked at the hats and we were like, ew, these hats, they don't look very nice, these hats. We don't like them. They don't go with our outfits. So as we looked at it, so we had these really nice scarves with Mukesh work on them, little shiny embroideries. And we said to Eric, is it okay if we just put these scarves on our heads? And he looked at us and he said, we're not in Paris, They're so cute. Anyway, we chose hats, we just took hats then. Yeah.
I remember those hats. They had holes in them. They were so dilapidated, but they were beautiful.
Oh,
There was
those are-
another one. There's one more that I can think of right now, is that I had these I got these terrible allergy attack when I was there. Just streaming sinuses, and it was terrible. And then I went to Goa and I got medicine. It didn't work. And I was just miserable. And I'm sitting in Meherazad, sitting next to Eruch, whining about my allergies. And he just turned to me with a kind of an exasperated look on his face, like, like, what can I do to shut you up? And he turned to me and with his thumbs, and he massaged my whole sinus area for a few minutes and then stopped. And it went away. So no more
Wow.
problems. However, I was living in Spain at the time when in the end, in 87, when I went back to live in America, the allergies came back. That same problem came back with a vengeance. And I've had it ever since. So we're talking 35 years or so. I've always had it now. It's a chronic thing. But anyway, that was that one little story. A friend of mine joked, you're going to have to wait another 700 years for a cure.
That's great.
Anyway, those are some little anecdotes, things I remember about Eruch.
So beautiful. Yeah, and my cat apologizes.
It was funny.
Crazy. She waits until Baba Zoom and then she makes her appearance. She loves to be on camera. All right, so I'll
She's
share.
a Baba lover.
She is. I'll share mine. Mary, sit down. Okay, so when I was there was an opportunity, and I don't know, it probably happened all the time. There was an opportunity to get some time one-on-one with Eruch. And they asked around who would like to, take some time. So I, like everyone has said, I also felt that immensity of that spirit and that soul and that energy. And so I shyly said I'd like some of Eruch's time. So I went in and to his room and sat down, and I said, Eruch, everybody out there is so dedicated to Baba and so happy. And to tell you the truth, I'm not feeling Baba. I came to Meherabad from my heart, and now my head is questioning everything. And I'm not sure that I believe that Baba is who he says he is. And he listened and he listened and he said, he said, I had the same thing. He said, I was with Meherabad for so many years, and I did not believe or know in my heart that Baba was, or in my head, that Baba is who he says he is. He said, but over the years, I figured it out because we would be going through things on the alphabet board and I would be saying what Baba had to say, and then he'd get faster. And then I'd have to work really hard to catch up to his movements. And then when I got there, he would get faster. And when I caught up there, he would get faster still. He said, and this continued until I realized that he would always be ahead of me. He would always be beyond where I am. He said, I then began to believe that he was the avatar. He said, so as far as that goes, just put that on the back burner. Baba is who he says he is, but put it on the back burner. And in the meantime, make friends with your mind. Tell your mind how happy you are that it brought you through school and got you a great education and allowed you to get this job and make money and keep a roof over your head, and thank your mind for all the help that it's given you through your life. And also tell your mind that it'll lead you to Meher Baba.
Wow.
So I left there with what I needed. Yeah, it's been so important to me through my life to come back to that idea of making friends with my mind. My mind's not my enemy, as I once thought it was. And I guess I get some solace sometimes. I mean, I don't feel Baba's presence all the time. I just don't. But my heart is at his feet. So even though the mind or whatever part of me, the veils, keep the sense of his presence from me, it doesn't matter because my heart remains always, always, always at his feet. And I've heard Jeff say the same thing, that Baba didn't say, feel my presence. He said, love me. So it's not about feeling Baba's presence all the time, but certainly being in the presence of Eruch and the other Mandali, there was something there that gave me an idea, a bridge to what it must be like to be in Baba's presence all the time. So, yes, Candy.
You know, I wasn't going to say this, but because you say what you just said,
Yeah,
I have to.
good.
So I received a gift from Baba a few days ago. I was thinking about a friend of mine who was Karen. I was thinking about Karen, who went off to the seminar from Ward Parks in the Heartland. And I was just thinking about it, and suddenly I had what only I can explain as like it was for about a second, but only a second is needed. It was imparted to me in a flash that Baba is actively working for every Baba lover who you know and you don't know. This is who you know and you don't know. And it was like a knowledge. It wasn't a thought. It wasn't like your typical linear thought. It was a knowledge, a conviction, a knowing that Baba is actively working with every Baba lover you know and you don't know. And it was an amazing thing, really. So even when the story of I know he's with me, but I don't feel his presence all the time. That is forever, all of us. We all say that, you know, we always hear that. And when we have little glimpses that, oh, Baba was showing me that he is with me. We have that. We all have that too. That same thing. We hear that always. But I just wanted to say that he really is. He really is with us, and he's working intimately and personally for every single person on their path to him. And another thing I got from that was that's why these lives of ours, whether they're boring or exciting, are incredibly significant lives. They are because of the fact that Baba is working with each of us. So I just had to say that because of what you said.
That's
I wasn't
beautiful.
I wasn't, planning on it. I mean, this is all about Eruch, but I just had to say that. So
It's all about Baba. It's all
yeah.
about Baba.
So
Yeah.
to me, it's like this amazing news, and it gave a whole new dimension to the way I'm seeing things now. So
Beautiful.
we should all know that, I mean, I think we will. I think we
I
are.
think you're right. I think you're right. Thank
So,
you.
so I just wanted to tell you all that. That's all.
It's good news.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Rosa?
Jai Baba, everyone. Although I went to India twice, what I want to say is about how Eruch impacted me through something I read many years later by Eruch. But in India, I think most of us have had the same experience of Eruch's presence that was so unique and powerful. And it's like he stood up tall in his love for Meherabad. He was just really an incredible being that I carry that respect for him, that he had a unique place. So when I was reading his book, I think, That's How It Was? That's the compilation of an earlier book. Anyway, let me preface this, that I am kind of what I call a gist person. I'm going to tell you the story to give you the feeling of it, but I'm kind of half making up the specific details. My brain doesn't remember the detailed facts. But there was one story in that book. There were two that really impacted me. And this one just blew me out of the water in the expansion of my understanding and deepened my connection with Baba. So in this story, very roughly paraphrased, a couple comes to have a private audience with Eruch, and they have a child who's suffering some terrible malady, physical malady. And of course, it's very painful to them, but they come to Eruch and say, we don't understand that this could happen because we've been so devoted to Baba for so long. We've given our life and everything. How could he allow this to happen? How could he do this? And they were in terrible pain. It created such a conflict in them. And of course, watching their child suffer. And Eruch took the question very seriously. He, I believe, got very silent, closed his eyes, and really contemplated the question and the answer that he would give these people. And when he opened his eyes, he made direct contact with them through the eyes, I believe. And he said, "Know for sure, everything that Baba bestows is for the betterment of the soul." And it was like an, oh my God moment for me. I mean, I have heard that expressed later, but at the time that I heard it, I hadn't heard that. And so I was kind of having my own questions. And it moved me into such a total bigger spiritual understanding and surrender that I didn't have to understand. I simply knew with certainty now. It was so poignant. I knew with certainty that everything that Baba did was very personal, custom designed based on our sanskaras, and it was always for our betterment, most specifically, the betterment of our soul, because we were living a spiritual life with Meher Baba. So that was like a turning point, you know, almost like those moments in creation when there's a sudden leap. That's what it felt like. It was like a leap to another dimension in my relationship with Baba. And because it came from Eruch, you know, as I explained, it had a lot of weight and impact for me. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, Rosa. Thank you, dear.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You know, the right person at the right time. That's Baba's incredible timing. You can hear, you know, you can hear the same thing said, and I just nod my head and go, right, and I move on. And then all of a sudden, it's the right moment, the right person, the right ambiance. I'm open, whatever. I'm needing this. And it's like kaboom. Yeah.
That's
Thank
a
you,
good
Baba.
title. Yeah, there's a good title for one of your poems, Kaboom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Beautiful.
true. Yeah.
It is. Thank you, Rosa. Jai
Jai
Baba.
Baba.
Jai Baba. Judy, good morning. Jai Baba.
Good morning. So many beautiful shares. And this has been a wonderful meeting for my heart, because Eruch meant so much to me, which he would be so angry right now at me for saying that. He would say, as he said to me when I hugged him in the last year of his life, and I whispered, Eruch, I miss you. And he took me out of that hug and pushed me at shoulder's length away and said, don't miss me, miss the Lord. And as I have shared before with that time, it was so helpful to me when he actually passed, because from that moment of the don't miss me, it helped me shift my heart back to the one and only Baba himself. And that is what all of us need to do. It was so easy with it, Eruch, Mani, Ruthie, the last video you showed was so beautiful, so heartful, and especially focused on both Eruch and Mani, which happened to be my connect towards this life most heartfully to Mayor Baba. But it's really Baba that we need to focus on. And to me, when I think of Eruch, that's what comes to mind, or that's what comes to my heart, rather, that he was so constantly adamant that nothing, I didn't often say it out loud, but I thought to myself, he's like Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. He won't let any praise or acknowledgement or anything. He wouldn't want us to be doing this today, except that we focus on the one and only beloved Mayor Baba. And I've shared this little vignette before, but it's worth sharing again. It was, I think it would have been in the late 90s on Baba's birthday. which is the one day of the year that I would always wear a sari in Baba's honor. And a sari doesn't look so good with my old hat. So I would take an umbrella up the hill. And as most of you remember, February can be quite warm or downright hot by February 25th. And so I, would use that when I was out in the sun for myself. But I had just been, it was the afternoon, maybe about 3 o'clock. And I'd been sitting in Baba's Samadhi for an extended period. Not many people were up there because the play for Baba's birthday was going to happen in Hostel A at Lower Meherabad at 4 o'clock. And so I'd been sitting in the Samadhi, and I came out and was walking past Baba's cabin, and toward what we used to call Mansari's kitchen. I was walking in that direction, and I noticed that Eruch had just come out of what was, it says restroom, Pilgrim's restroom. It was the last, the closest to Bob, the room that was closest to Baba's Samadhi in the building that had the kitchen. And there was a cot, one little cot there that people could rest on. And Eruch was stepping out, and Craig Ruff was with him and lending an arm. And as he came out down I think there's only one or so steps. And I also noticed, so I was, among other responsibilities in those years when I lived at Meherabad, I was part of the medical team. And so I'd been well trained by Dr. Ann. Care for Eruch is essential, and any of the mandali. And so I saw a small group, I don't know, a half dozen pilgrims that spotted Eruch, and they were making a beeline for him. And it's a hot afternoon, the hottest time of the day, with blazing sun, and there's Eruch, so my calculations are, I need to get this umbrella over Eruch as soon as possible. And so I just continued walking, because I was walking straight into where everybody was gathering. And I also knew that Eruch was adamant that no one get between him and a lover of God, which every pilgrim he saw was a lover of God. So I went around behind him and tried to casually put my umbrella over him, and not interrupt what he was doing. Eruch, whatever, I didn't actually see what anyway, he immediately turned around and looked at me and said, "Put that down and don't ever let that happen again." What had happened? I put an umbrella over Eruch's head to protect him from the sun. What did Eruch see happening was that I was honoring him as he himself had done for so many years to the avatar of the age. He would allow not one moment that he could be compared in any way. It wasn't that was not my intention. but somebody could read it as that. No, absolutely not. And that was Eruch to me. I was used to, taking, some battery. Those of us that were residents, we got treated not unlike they got treated by Mayor Baba in their days, which was such a blessing to have, and remains in my heart to this day. But the point is, he really, really, really sincerely did not want anyone to make any deal out of him at all. Big deal, little deal, middle. He made sure that didn't happen. If one of us, like me, was foolish enough to do something that could even be vaguely considered, treating him in a special way. And the flip side of that was how what I observed over all those years was that every single pilgrim, little kid from the village, old lady or man from the village, somebody that's a mayor of here or there, or, high, low, black, white, yellow, brown, everyone was so equally greeted with absolute adoring love, as if they were Baba himself. Because actually, as has been said, he is us. And Eruch so uniquely, but actually every one of the Mandali saw everyone. And that's what we loved so much. They treated us as if we were the most wonderful part of creation, every single one. And to give that kind of love every day, any time, however they were feeling, however they rose to the occasion every single moment. And, I had a more intimate view than some others of the behind the scenes, and saw how, they'd been a little before that toot that the bus driver always gave just before the bus came. And, it's, all of the Mandali have those qualities. For me, Eruch and Mani shown them in such brilliance every time they met someone, and it was sincere. They weren't putting on. They were a conduit for Baba's love that went through them straight to our hearts. And how blessed we've been, every one of us, because I think everybody on this meeting had the great good fortune to be with Eruch and all of the other Mandali. It's like, thank you, Baba, that we each have been blessed by your love coming through these unique and beautiful prisms, that like prisms give this whole rainbow light. And each of the Mandali had their own unique color that they shone Baba's love to us, and it just, it filled us. So how blessed we all are to even know the name Mayor Baba, and how much greater, all of us, because everybody's been loving him your whole adult lives here. Thank you, Baba. We can't thank you enough. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, that was beautiful.
Yeah. Like his t-shirt said, everybody is my teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's beautiful. And it's Baba's love. I've been sort of, Baba, should I say anything? Anyway, and he sort of, that was Baba. Thank you, Baba, for helping out.
Beautiful, Judy. Thank you for the memories. Ron? Jay Baba.
Baba. Thank you. Yeah, that was really beautiful, Judy, and everybody with their heartfelt offerings in memory of Eruch. So what I wanted to focus on after saying this, which is that Eruch was a man of many wonderful attributes, of which I believe Baba used every one of those to the hilt, all the way through his entire life. And I want to focus on basically one of them, which had to do with Eruch as a communicator. When I first met Eruch and heard him telling stories, I thought, my God, this is a silver-tongued Eruch, who Baba had speak for him. He could tell a story and bring it to life, and I don't know, all of those things. At a certain point, it was actually right around the time that Eruch left us in 2001, right around that time, that August 31st. Baba put in my mind while I was reading Lord Meher to see if I could take a quote that was in there and write a song using that quote, which is something that I had done to inspired by something that Baba would have said. Now, when I sat down to do it, a day or two later, Baba said, put your guitar down, Ron, just come up with a tune. It was only like one sentence. And I thought, well, what am I going to do here? But anyhow, that set me on an amazing adventure of finding Baba's messages and setting them to a tune to make a song out of them so I could sing them. So after not too long, I realized that most of these messages were things that Baba either did on the board or with his hand gestures interpreted by his main interpreter, Eruch. So I basically credit Eruch for the way these messages read out, and the sounds of them, and the alliteration and the inner rhymes, and how beautiful the words themselves are to get the message across. So I think of that, and so I just thought maybe I would sing one of them, and this one is the one that we've already basically heard in the bio, and I just call it To Eruch. And I gotta make sure I'm in tune because I gotta put the capo on. So it's called To Eruch, and I found this particular version of it. We probably all have heard Eruch, say this anecdote of him crossing the river with Baba and all that, the muddy river. But this one was found in the Glow magazine, and it was in November 2001, that particular edition. And I haven't sung it in a while, so let me see if I can do a good job on this. Oh, wait a minute, let me put it on the musician's original sound deal. Yeah, that'll help probably. Well, I didn't get it in tune, hold on. Just as today you have given me your hand and pulled me out of the murky waters, a day will come when I will lend you my hand and pull you out of the muck of illusion. Just as today you have given me your hand and pulled me out of the murky waters, a day will come when I will lend you my hand and pull you out of the muck of illusion. That was pretty close.
That was pretty cool.
Beautiful.
Very cool. Thank you, Ron. Have you got anything else? If you don't, I'm going to ask. Well, Karen stepped away for a minute, but I thought Karen might have something. You know, I think of all the people or the Mandali and then the rest of us that were there in India. There was something so incredibly authentic about Eruch. That's why I felt like I could talk to him about anything. And regardless of my fear, that I just got over it because I just really wanted that time because of his authenticity. I knew he would say exactly what was deepest in his heart to me. So I'm grateful for that. Well, we've been here for 2 hours, actually, a little over. Yes, Kat. Candy, you got something? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh,
Candy,
What is interesting is that,
oh, there you go.
oh, what's interesting in my own mind, I don't know if you all had that, but in the beginning when I used to go and see the Mandali, I knew who they were, but I didn't really know who they were. So I treated them like buddies. Over the years, I've read all these books about the Mandali, which at that time I had not read. They hadn't been even in print. And now I came to understand who they really were. Even more than, I mean, like I respected them, but they were like friends, you know. It was like, it was different. And I think that if they were alive now, after reading everything that I've read, I would just be sitting there in awe rather than treating them like buddies, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, a friend had me take a camera. He said, take a camera and ask every single Mandali for a picture with them. So that set me up to sit next to each one and have the introduction to a relationship. So I'm grateful. Karen, you're back. I wonder, do you have anything that you might want to share? Oh, you're muted, dear.
Hi, I have so many stories. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Well, I
But
know you
all I can say is how fortunate we all were to know Eruch. It boggles the imagination, and how lovely it is to be together on his birthday. But I will tell you one story about his birthday in 1978. I was in India, and I had the good fortune at that time to work for 3 months at the trust office. And Eruch, I can't even describe what it was like. So on his birthday, I think I arranged something for his birthday, maybe a treat, I don't remember. But he didn't want to be remembered on his birthday. And I remember he was coming after me with a knife. But on my birthday, I got this beautiful, I guess they knew I didn't eat sugar. And so beautiful wrapped tray of fruit, dried fruits, and so lovely. There's just no way to describe how fortunate we were to be with Eruch and all the other Mandali. And it was really by Baba's grace that we had this Mandali karma. And I remember going with Eruch to the Ellora Caves, and he had us go into a Muslim tomb where women weren't supposed to go. And the men, they all waited outside, I think. I don't know if they came in with us, but Eruch said, go on in, go on in. And we went to Happy Valley, might have been on the way or on the way back. And then another time, he took us on a walk to Pimplegown and introduced us to his friends. Another time I took a walk with Gary Kleiner and Eruch, was my last day. And we walked down the road and he told us to listen closely because when the banana, and I remember this, and I think I remember it correctly, when the flowers, and I wish I remember the bamboo or the banana, I think, but I'll look into it. When they opened, there was a sound. And he wanted us to listen for that. It was so touching. I mean, we were just, I don't know where to begin. We were just so fortunate, all the Mandali, each and every one. So I very much enjoy being able to do these biographies and to also share these mornings with everyone. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. Yeah, I think of Eruch's impact. I hear so many Charles stories, and he'll do a really good imitation of Eruch. And Jeff Wolverton has such amazing memory and stories about Eruch. Ron, the men seem to have had just a great infusion of his wisdom because he would spend time and hang out. And if anybody had a quandary, if they were in angst, they would take it to Eruch and he'd untie the knot. And I'm grateful that I took my knot to him and he untied it for me. So, all right, let's just have a moment of silence together. Thank you, everybody. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
If you'd like to unmute. Avatar Meherabad.
Avatar Meherabad
Jai.
ki jai.
Avatar
Avatar
Meherabad
Meherabad ki
Jai.
jai.
Avatar
Avatar Meherabad ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And thank you, Karen, for your bio and